Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is July, what is it? Sunday, July 14th, 2024. This is episode number 272. I am one of the hosts of this podcast, Jerry Evanoff. And with me, as he is each week, is Rich Kacy. Rich, how are you?
I'm hot, as always, this time of year. And it's been a wild week. Like you said, it's been a wild week for you. And that's not even counting yesterday. So it was wild before, and it's getting wilder.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. I'll start calling you Gene. Okay. So that was a Gene Wilder joke. I don't know if you got it.
Yes.
You just gave me a sympathy laugh because it wasn't actually funny. Okay. So I'm curious, when you say you're hot, is it because of the temperature's hot outside? I would assume, right?
Yes. It's
where are you at?
I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Temperature-wise, where are you at?
Yeah. We're wobbling around between 95 and 100 every day.
Wow.
And it's not getting down much below 83 or so at night.
Ooh,
so it's just warm. The air conditioner's running all the time. I'm gonna be really scared to see what the bill is gonna be like at the end of July. It'll be nasty.
I asked that because we've been between like 87 and 92 for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And like the last two mornings golfing, we start at 7 a.m. when it's still 75 degrees out, 65 degrees the last couple of days. But by the time we get to the back nine and it's like 9:30, now it's just, you're sweating like crazy and happy that we started when we did. We'll look at the people in the first and second hole and just be like, I don't want to be them. They still have 17 holes to play and we can't.
Right.
It's too hot to do that. So,
well, the only saving grace about the whole thing is that, I spend 9 hours a day at the library in air conditioning, and it's actually pretty cold air conditioning. So, that's good.
Yeah. Right. All right, so let me jump into my stats for the week. It's for the last 9 days or so. Although, to be honest with you, we podcasted on Thursday, July 4th. I didn't do anything on Friday. So, we podcasted. It's really the last 7 or 8 days that I'm going to update here. Yeah. Books 2, 3, and 4 are now just sitting there waiting for me to edit them. Nothing with any of those. Book 5 is actually up 6,888 words to 14,950. That is through chapter 7, including a prologue. And then I've got some words in chapter 9, maybe 100 words in chapter 9 that it also includes, that I moved out of chapter 6 because I didn't want to use them in chapter 6. My running total for the year, or at least since March 1st when I started tracking, is 104,654. I broke the 100,000 word mark, which is kind of exciting. Again, on my way to 240,000, which was my goal for the year, or at least for the 10 months that I've been tracking. My average word count jumped again. I didn't update them in the outline. I think it's up to 1094 now. So I'm getting almost 1100 per hour, which is nice. That's what happens when you're writing strictly first draft. Mail Light, I was going to take it out this week because I said last week I'm not really going to renew it as of now. And I'm not going to worry about it for, at least another 8 to 9, maybe even a year when I start trying to release these things. But I did have some interesting news about it that happened this week that I will talk about when I get into my weekly review. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. All right. So then last week's goal was to hit 9,000 words. I got to be honest with you. I didn't really think about that goal when I did the math in my head, because I did say, hey, here are the 7 days I'm going to write, not realizing that like 3 of them I may not be able to write, or 2 of them I may not be able to actually write for reasons that I knew about at the time and just didn't write. So, and I couldn't write. So it was off. I 6888. I'm going to call it a failure with the actual number, but I'm going to call it a success because I think I wrote 6 times and averaged, 11 or 1,200 words per session, which is pretty good. It's a little bit less than what I want to do, considering I have some at work and some not at work, but I'm going to call it a success in terms of just continuing to move forward.
Yeah, and it's twice as much as I had, because last week I only had 3,200 words. Amelia Jones 1 is now up to 37,202 words. And I don't remember if I even spoke a goal for the last 8 or 9 days, but whatever it was, I'm sure I didn't hit it, because I was only, getting about a couple, 300-400 words a day in my lunch hour, and that was basically it. I did get a bunch of non-writing related stuff done, including backing out of nearly all the subscriptions and marketing related expenses that I have. I canceled everything. I canceled Book Funnel, literally anything you can think of that I had that I was paying for, I canceled. The only thing I did decide to keep for the time being is my Rich Kacy and my Emeratura Press domain names. So I did re-up those for another 3 years, I think for 3 years, but I canceled my host and everything else. And again, like you, I'm going to wait until I get closer to actually putting something out there before I decide to go ahead and reestablish all that stuff.
Does richcasey.com no longer exist? Because I'm looking at it right now. I just put it
It,
on
it,
screen.
it will exist until my current subscription runs out in like the second week of August, I
Oh,
believe,
okay.
or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it won't be renewed.
And
So yeah, I'm just
these are based in the what you talked about last week, which is kind of reevaluating and kind of coming up with what you want to do next.
yeah, reevaluating, but also realizing that I'm just not doing anything with this stuff right
Mm-hmm.
now because I'm so piddling around with writing, trying to figure out where I want to go, what kind of stories I really want to tell. I'm kind of waffling all over the place right now, so I don't have good plans, and whatever plans I do have, I'm not really sticking to them. So what's the point? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, you're writing words though, so at least you're doing something. That's good.
yeah, I am writing words and I'm having fun doing it. I wish I had a little bit more time. I'm going to see if I can free up a little bit more time going forward. But
Mm.
yeah, but I guess right now, what my biggest problem right now is trying to settle on a kind of story that I want to tell. I mean, I want to tell a mystery, crime, murder kind of story, but I waffle all over the place in terms of, is it going to be cozy? Is it going to be noir? Is it going to be hard boiled private detective kind of stuff? Is it going to be urban fantasy? Because a lot of urban fantasy, so I just kind of waffle. And every day I have a new idea that looks really good and shiny. I'm really suffering badly from the squirrel syndrome right now.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's partly, I think I put in the notes later, it's partly this is always a low biorhythm time of year for me. Midsummer when it's so hot, and it's just been made doubly worse this year because of the library job, which I love. I love the library job, but it's just been wreaking havoc with my the routine that I had developed
Mm-hmm.
before I took the job.
Yeah.
So I got to develop a new routine that just hasn't happened yet.
I mean, I struggled with routine for a couple of years after when COVID hit, and I was
Mm-hmm.
not working from, I wasn't working in the office 5 days anymore, and that was my lunch break every day. Boom, go right, and I knew it was set in stone. I couldn't go anywhere. That was the schedule. And then on the weekends, I knew what I was doing most of the time. And then as soon as COVID hit, I just was like, now what do I do? And I think my second book in no, my third book in the time travel series, I worked on for like a year and a half, and I just put it aside and said, hey, I don't want to work on this right now.
Yeah,
So yeah, I know
yeah,
what you're going through. It took me, and I'm pretty much to a good routine right now, but it took me a couple years to get there. So
yeah, yeah.
all right, let's see. Last Friday, we'll start with my weekly schedule here. Last Friday, I worked from home. I was the only one working kind of in my IT department, so I had to work. I could not work. Um, and ended up playing game 3 after work. I ended up playing game 3 of my baseball game, my APBA dice baseball game. You're going to hear APBA a lot in this recap. Although you won't hear it the last couple of days, but you're going to hear it a lot in this recap because it's become my new kind of, I don't really watch TV at night anymore because I don't really have any TV shows to watch. And I've watched Perry Mason so many times that I can only, I see, an actor on there that's famous. Like, oh yeah, they did it. You kind of know, they might as well put a red shirt on. And so, I mean, in the evening on that Friday, I played my baseball game, and I tried to play what you call the master game. So there's a basic game that you can just open up and start playing. It's really, really easy. It's fun. It makes sense. It's statistically realistic. Like it's really fun. But they created a master game, and I tried to play it, and it literally took me one batter before I went, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I got to watch some YouTube videos. So I put it aside and just played the game normally. And I had a blast. And I posted it to my YouTube channel. I think I have 37 videos up there that I've been doing
Oh
like the
wow.
last 2 or 3 months. I just do them maybe 4 to 5 a week and just have fun with it. So that is my new evening thing. Saturday. So Saturday was one of the days that I had estimated in my goal for 1,500 words, not realizing when I was doing that in my head during the podcast that that's the day that I was going to see Back to the Future, the musical
Oh
play.
yeah.
And it was at a don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it. It was a good time, but it was at 1:30, which is like right in the middle of the day. We were leaving at like 11:30, so I couldn't golf, I couldn't go right, I couldn't do anything. So we left at like 11:15. There were 8 of us, I think. I was driving 3. I was driving 2, and my brother-in-law was driving the other 4, so there were 8 of us total. Got there at whatever time it was, and it started at 1:30. It was pretty good. I'm not gonna say it was really good. It was pretty good. They stuck to the movie pretty well, came up with some good songs. My favorite part about it though is the way that they integrated a kind of like a screen, a video screen, a gigantic one behind the set that basically is what did the special effects. So they would
okay.
they'd shut all the lights off. In the end when he's trying to race the car to the lightning bolt, They shut all the lights off on the stage except the car, and then had a video on the stage of the city, like not like a an amazing recreation of the city, but what looked like a stage production of the city moving past it really fast. And then you could see the car's wheels spinning, and it made it look like the car was driving along the road. And then it would speed up and then slow down. So it wasn't just stuck in the middle of the set. It was moving backwards and forwards. It was brilliant. However they did it, whoever did it is brilliant with the way that they integrated the special effects into this thing. So really enjoyed it. We left probably around 4:15 and went back to the place that we like to go down in this area called the Hot Dog Shop, which is this old school diner that we like to go to. You know, if you walk in there and you can get a good dinner for like $6 because they don't have old school prices, but they're cheap. They're still cheap, and they have a diner a counter you sit at and that kind of thing. And it's been around for 100 years in this area, as far as I know. I don't know. But we went there, so I didn't get home until like 7:30. I mean, it was pretty late by the time I got home, and ended up playing my next baseball game. And then I posted it, and then I did a little bit of plotting for the first act of this book 5 that I'm working on right now, specifically the chapter I'd be writing the next day. I guess, yeah, the next day, that would be Saturday. Actually, I did that before the play. That's right. I played the baseball game and did the plotting before I left for the play. So I didn't do any writing, but I was able to get some author stuff done where I did the plotting for it. And then we left for the play, blah, blah, blah. I went to that, like I said, came home, and I really didn't do much of anything when I finally got home around 7. I was beat. Been out all day, and was happy to get home. And I knew I was getting up at 5 a.m. the next day. So I went to bed around 10. Sadly, though, my neighbor had other plans for me as he decided to light off fireworks periodically between like 9:30 and 12:30. And my window is right outside, right above his driveway, or my driveway and his driveway are next to each other. And I have an air conditioner now in that window, so the window's not closed. So I was just laying there cursing. One more effing time. Just come on. I mean, I was just annoyed with him. And I finally fell asleep. And while I was at the play earlier in the day, I muted my phone, and that included my 5 a.m. alarm. Yeah. So am I messing up here? No, I'm getting this right. So yeah, my 5 a.m. alarm. Luckily, I woke up at like 5:30 instead of 5, which still gave me enough time to take a quick shower and get to golf on time. I don't remember how I played last week. I think I shot I've been shooting, 91, 92, 93 pretty regularly. So that's probably what I did. And then I came home and showered, and then decided to go to the casino, and the winning streak finally came to an end.
No.
Yeah, it's sad. It's very sad that the winning streak came to an end. I went to like Target, and I had a couple of weeks ago, I'd gone to Target to get my eye prescription, and one of the numbers on the card she gave me didn't match up with what you could choose on the website where you can buy cheap glasses. So I went back on this Sunday and just confirmed it with her. And I said, you wrote on here 75 and 25, you wrote minus 75 and minus 25, minus 50, but the website only gives me like minus 25 to minus 10, and it's in 0.25 increments. What do I do? And she goes, oh, let's just add a decimal point here then and make it minus 0.25 and minus 0.5. And I went, okay. You didn't exactly look that up, but okay. So after that, I went over to Hothead and wrote some words into chapter 4, 2,231 words. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. It's kind of like a montage of my main character, my sidekick, questioning people while they're gambling. This is a whole Vegas book. This has been a blast to write so far. I haven't really had to dig too deep to write a lot of this because it's Vegas and it's a lot of stuff that I've done in my life in terms of gambling. So it was fun to write, and it was easy to write, and I was surprised that I had 2,200 words by the time I was finished. I was probably there for a couple hours, and it's a little bit above my word count, but because it was kind of fun, it was easy to write. So
the casino you go play at, is it a big time casino? They have like waitresses walking the floor and stuff like that, or is it?
They do, but it's not a big time casino. It's literally just slot machines. There's no poker room, or there's no table games. It's just slot machines, and then upstairs there's a sports bar and a betting area because you can bet on sports in Ohio now for the last year and a half. And then there's also there's live horse racing out behind it because it used to be it was just horse racing for the longest time, and then they stuck a casino in there. Okay. Yeah, so we have live
Because I
horses.
was gonna say, man, that'd be a great opportunity, especially since you're kind of
Oh,
semi-regular there, to interview some of the people and say, okay, what's the wildest thing that's ever happened in here? And you can incorporate those into your book.
Rich, seriously, the last thing you want to do right now is give me an excuse to go back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a great idea, but I don't know if I want to go back right now. So, so anyway, so I what did I write in here? Blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, so really all this chapter is like he goes to the play blackjack, the dealer gives him some information, the cocktail waitress overhears him, she sends him to a janitor, and I just don't know if that's like good enough. Should all three of them like give him information, or can it be like this person leads to this person who then leads to this person who gives him information? I don't know. Like I feel like it's okay. I think I've read enough mysteries to say, yeah, I think this is okay for like one chapter, but I just don't want the reader to be reading through this and just getting bored, like get on with it type of thing. So I'm not sure how I feel. I don't know if you have any opinions on that. How would you write a chapter where your main character, Amelia Jones, right?
Yeah.
Is like starting to the investigation or whatever she does, and she is going to start questioning people. Like, would that be one chapter, multiple? How would you handle that?
I would probably go over a number of chapters because that's going to be in the Act 2, right? And
It's actually in Act 1 for me. It's like the very first time he starts doing anything.
Well, okay.
Well, let's talk story structure if you want. I love story structure.
Yeah, I mean, typically in a mystery story, the investigator doesn't actually start doing any investigation until after the transition from Act 1 to Act 2, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. This is Act 2. I was thinking 33%. No, you're right. Act 1 is the first couple chapters. Yeah, this is right after the other character says, I need you to look into this for me. And yes, this is like right around chapter 5, 6. Yeah. So this is the beginning of Act 2. I'm sorry.
Well, then the investigation, at least the initial investigation leading up to the first fail, would probably cover it a couple of chapters at least. You would look. The investigator would be appearing to make some progress, but then suddenly get halted because the antagonist becomes aware of their presence. But it may take a little bit for them to become aware of the presence of the protagonist. But I was going to make a comment about the order you have here about the dealer got him to a cocktail waitress, who got him to a janitor, and the janitor gave him the information. I tell you what, in most stories, the mystery stories is it a male investigator?
Yes.
A male sleuth? Yeah. It would be much more interesting to the reader if he was getting this information from a flirty cocktail waitress. And because then you can have a lot of very interesting dialogue back and forth between them. Unless the janitor is female too. I mean, that could actually, having a female janitor could really work well too. But either way,
I do like. I feel like I can make the cocktail waitress a little flirty because I really like the idea of writing that. But I'm okay with the janitor giving him the information. But I do like the idea of having the flirty cocktail waitress, especially because it's going to be my main character and the sidekick sitting there, and I think it could be fun if it's just either he's doing it, the sidekick's doing it, and the main character's going, ugh, what are you doing? Or the main character's doing it, and the sidekick's doing, oh, I might do that. Actually, now that you say that, I really like that.
Yeah. Well, in the absence of a femme fatale, that's usually one thing that carries a mystery along, would be some interaction between the sexes. That it's not obviously not part of the main plot if there's not a femme fatale involved, but just having that kind of banter and that kind of back and forth basically takes the place of action in a way in order to move the story forward. Because the reader kind of thinks about it as action, because it's kind of interaction with sexual overtones, which helps move things forward a little bit more quickly than if it's just people talking.
So I'm thinking like Moonlighting, a TV show. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, but I've never seen it, but I think I know the premise of that.
Put that on your list to watch. It's a good show.
Okay.
Okay. So here's what I did there. I didn't have the flirty cocktail waitress, but the character who asks my main character to look into it is the female detective from book 1. And now I do have, like, in book 1, she was always Detective Chase. And then in this book here, Sam, my main character, will meet an ex of hers who will call her Kayla, because that's her first name. And Sam, we like, Kayla, I never even heard. So there is a little bit of fun between those two. And in the stuff that I was working on today, there's some anger between the two of them, where there's a little bit of not fighting, but like back and forth. And it's not going to be sexual at all, because I don't want the reader to think that Sam has the girlfriend. I'm happy with that. But there will be that banter back and forth that will go from fun to anger, back to fun by the time the midpoint hits, or I guess around the first binge point. And there's a point where he says something like, listen, Kayla. And she's like, don't call me that. You never call me that. So I have that kind of banter in there. It's just not the cocktail waitress. It's one of the other side characters who will be in this book.
Right.
So I think I have that covered, kind of what you were saying. I hope I do. But I think I kind of do have that covered. All right. So then Monday, not much related to writing on Monday. There usually isn't. I did work from home. I did do a little bit of plotting for Act 1, Book 5, just working on that a little bit more. I'm sorry. It really would be Act 2 then. I mean, in my head, I'm thinking Act 1. I'm thinking like Part 1 and Part 2, the first half, second half. That's why I was talking about earlier too.
Oh,
but this would actually be at the beginning. This would be the first half of Act 2 is the plotting that I did. And that way I'd have something to write during the week while I was in the office. After work, I cut my grass, had some dinner, and then finished the football game I had started over the weekend. But during the day, I did get an email from MailerLite letting me know that because I didn't recently resubscribe my plan, as it turns out, in February of this year, they quit doing free plans, which I had no idea about. And they said, if I don't resubscribe by September 2nd, they're going to delete my account and all my data, which is very disappointing. And I wrote in the outline, since when do companies delete your data? That seems really strange to me. Which means I have about 8 weeks to make that decision. My guess is I'm going to export all my lists, hang on to them for a while, and then I'm ready to go back to my, MailerLite, my PO box, and sending emails. I'll either go back to them or I'll find somebody else. It really doesn't matter to me. What I have to do though is I'll have to go in and disconnect my book funnel stuff, which does add to the list when somebody downloads it. Now, lucky for me, no one reads my books right now. I don't know if it's lucky for me or not, but no one reads my stuff right now. So I'm not too concerned about that being a problem. So that's kind of where that is right now. It's a little bit disappointing that they would delete your data. They could at least keep your account. Just don't let you email anything. But why delete it? Like, why not just leave my account active? I'm not paying anything. I'm not sending any emails. And then when I'm ready, I'll pay for a subscription. That's how every other company that I know of does it. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that has something to do with data protection or what. If they're not allowed to hold on to that stuff if you don't have an active account or what.
Could be, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so then Tuesday I'm in the office, and then at lunch I didn't have a lot of time because I was leaving right at 4 p.m. for golf. So I think I talked about this maybe I didn't because it was still a couple weeks ago. But I do the schedule for the golf league. I'm the one who does it every week. I put together the whole thing. We have 7 tee times, 450 through 550 every 10 minutes. And my partner in the league, he can't golf until 5:30. So I never, ever get to play in the beginning. I never get to play at the front of the league. I'm always one of the last ones, which means I don't get home until like 9:30. And he texted me on Monday and said, hey, I can play early tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. So I put myself first. And if anybody complains about it, I don't care. Put myself first. And then I ended up getting out right at 4:50. And we were done by, I don't know what time it was, 7:30. I have no idea, but I was home super early. It was great. I didn't have to come home and go right to bed because I was getting up at 5 a.m. the next day. So it worked. I was very, very happy about that.
Yeah.
At lunch, I did work more on chapter 5, 806 words for the day. That's what pushed me over 100,000. And I was pretty excited about that. And so it wasn't the 1,000 that I planned only because I had to leave right at 4. And what I usually do is I go to lunch around 11:45 and then I leave around 4:15. So that gives me the hour and a half. I'm sorry, that gives me an extra 15 minutes, but I can't leave right at 4 when I do that. Although nobody pays attention, so who knows? So we get there, and this is the remnants of I don't know if the hurricane hit you at all, but the remnants of the hurricane that hit Houston pretty bad on Monday had finally gotten up to us. We didn't get rained on, but I have never been, we didn't get rained on until the next day, but you could feel it come and the clouds were coming in. I have never played in that much humidity in my life golf. It was only like 75 degrees, but it was so humid that it was like, I feel like I was walking through like a lake or something. It was just bad. We were so
wet. Probably takes about 50 yards off your drive too.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I played really well for the first 6 holes and my drive on the 7th. I was on pace for a 44, and then I super fell apart, ended up with a 50. And I'm going to go ahead and blame the weather because it can't be me. It can't be my swing or my lack of talent. Wednesday, up early for work again. This was supposed to be the day that the rain from the hurricane would hit us. I did manage to miss it coming in. At lunch, I kind of sat up near the front, made some small changes to chapter 4. I finished chapter 5. It's a short one. I think it's only like 600 or 700 words. Needs a lot of work. But then I started chapter 6, and I added some words to chapter 8. So I was killing it on the Wednesday. Overall, I added almost 1,600 words, which for me, having during a lunch break at work is amazing. I usually schedule about 1,000.
Yeah.
And I got 16, almost 6. I got 1561, so almost 1,600, which was great. I think the reason that it was so easy because the scene was about two people sitting down and playing slot machines in a casino, and I do have a little bit of experience with that, especially lately. And I made up fake games, but I made them very similar to the games I like playing. And like I said, I didn't have to reach down very far to pull the words out. After work, I went home, had some dinner, and played some of my APBA Dice Football, putting a video up on YouTube. And I'm not really getting like tons and tons of views, but I am getting immediate views. The minute I post it, like if I look like 2 hours later, I'll have 5 or 6 views immediately. And that's kind of cool. That means people are kind of out there waiting for them or looking for them. And I'm really enjoying that. I like
it. You've got people who have less to do than you do.
So, oh God.
Wow, sitting around waiting.
Yeah. And then Thursday I had work in my writers club, but I decided on the way to work, I really wasn't up for writers club that night. I didn't have anything to read. And I've been pretty much going since Tuesday morning, work, golf, work, come home. That's fine. And then work again. I do enjoy the 3 days a week because I like getting the writing done at lunch. But I mean, I've said this before, pre-COVID, my life was get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day and go to work and get home around 5:30 every day, right at lunch. And then back then, I don't think I golfed on the weekends every single weekend until about 2020, pretty rarely. But in 2019, I was golfing. I mean, I know I was. So, doing it 3 days a week now and getting those Mondays and Fridays when I'm sleeping in a little bit, I'm still beat by Thursday morning. Holy cow. And so I just didn't feel like I was ready for Writers Club. I just felt like crap. So I just didn't want to go anywhere after I got home. So that meant instead of editing chapter 1 or my prologue, which is what I was going to read to them.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Let's make this clear.
Yeah.
The going someplace at writing club is literally across the street, right?
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's all the way across the 2-lane road that no one ever drives on. Absolutely. That's what it is. Yes.
Okay.
So this mentioned at lunch, I didn't have to edit the prologue because that's what I was going to read had I gone. So instead what did I do? I wrote. I didn't go to lunch until a little after 12 because of some work stuff. And I didn't really get to take much of a big lunch. I didn't take a lunch with me in the morning like I had the previous 2 days. So I had to walk across the subway, and now that's bigger than the 2-lane road outside my house, walking across the street subway from work. But the scene I was getting ready to write was where my main character and sidekick sit down at a poker table in Vegas, which again, I've done many times. It's a blast. I once played, I don't know if I ever told you this, I once played poker with Jerry Van Dyke.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
He was a big boy then, and he was kind of talking a little bit of trash to the guy sitting. He was on the end, and there was a guy sitting across from me, and he's kind of talking trash a little bit. And he said to the guy, "Do you know who I am?" And I went, "I know who you are." I said his name, and I'm like, "You were on Coach, and you were one of my in Andy Griffith. You were in one episode of the Andy Griffith show." And he's like, "This guy knows who I am." And it was kind of fun. This was like in 2005 or something. It was a blast. So it was really easy for me to get to I was excited to write it again. I didn't have much time, but it wasn't so bad. I got a total of 412 words into chapter 6 during this poker game. And I have my character set up having this spatial sequence synesthesia. And I'm wondering, is there a way that he can use that in the poker game? Not necessarily to have an advantage. Is it just when he sits down to play, does it kind of kick in? If that's how it works, I don't know if that works. Does it kind of kick in? So I did a little bit of research on that. I was talking to ChatGPT. I was doing some Googling, and I think I came up with how I want to use it, but I have to make sure I write it correctly. Most of the time I don't really worry about offending people, but in this case, I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to do it the wrong way because it is a legit disease. And I guess, would you call it a disease? I don't even know. I think you would, but
well, I don't think it's a disease so much as it'd be it's a form of neurodivergency.
There you go.
I guess. Okay. Yeah. Now, remind me. I don't recall what is spatial synesthesia. I'm aware of color and tone and stuff, but what's spatial synesthesia?
This one is where you kind of see things in 3D. and you can kind of arrange things if they were objects in your mind.
Oh, that's right. I remember now. We
so
talked
imagine if
about
you're
this.
standing on a giant, like human-sized chessboard, basically.
Right,
That's kind of how I think about it. So I did some research there. I think I found a way to work it in, but I haven't written it yet. Well, at this point, I hadn't written it. I have a little bit gotten into it over the last couple of days, so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I got 412 words in on Thursday at lunch. So I ended up getting, I don't know, about 2,800 words in over those 3 days where I planned for 1,000. So I was off, but not off by much. So I felt good about the 3 days of work. Friday ended up being a weird day. This was a day where I was going to write 1,500 words because I was a half a day at work. I was getting off at 11, but I had forgotten a couple weeks ago that I rescheduled Max's next canine paw spa mobile bath lady, Stephanie, to come to my house. And I rescheduled her for 1 o'clock for some reason. I didn't know I was going to do a half a day, which is probably why. So I couldn't really go anywhere, except for when I did go to the casino really quick and lost for a second straight time, which is why I think I'm done. Went there, came home. I was home about 12:30, grabbed some lunch, came home around 12:30 and waited for her. She showed up at 1. Again, I couldn't go right. Well, then after she left, I had something else at 4 o'clock. I had a phone call I had to take at 4 o'clock that lasted about a half an hour. So I really couldn't go anywhere between her leaving and the phone call. And then after that, I really didn't want to go anywhere because it was late in the evening. So I really did no writing on Friday, which is not great for a day where I take a half a day. I mean, there were times during the morning where I was half tempted to just go ahead and say to my boss, hey, let's get rid of that. Let me work all day. But I didn't. I ended up playing my football game while she was giving Max a bath. And then I played it again in the evening and posted a couple of videos. And, it was still a good day. I still happy to not work, for the second half of the day. But so that was Friday. It's a little disappointing. I used to come onto this podcast and feel a little guilty when I didn't say what I was going to do last time. I'm pretty much over that now, where this is my life and this is just what happens to me. So I don't really feel guilty anymore, but I do feel a little bit guilty to myself. Like, I really should have figured out a way to write that day, and I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a normal life to me. Stuff always comes up.
Yeah. But it's so weird, Rich. I look at my life, I look at my friends' lives, right? And they're like, oh yeah, they have kids and they have these responsibilities. And when they have excuses, I had to take my kid to the whatever. And I had to do this. Like, I don't have any of that. My excuse is, oh yeah, I had to play my APBA football dice game. Like, and I still think, to me, that's a valid excuse, but to other people, it may not be.
Well, you're a writer. You just need to be more creative with your excuses.
You know what you're at. Maybe I'll ask ChatGPT for some good excuses. So then Sunday, that was today. Oh no, then Saturday. Yeah, Saturday I was up early to golf. Ended up playing. I actually played pretty well. I shot 89. The goal is to always stay in the 80s. But I'm one of those people who goes, 89, that did awesome. And then I'll go, boy, if I'd have hit those other 3 shots, I'd have 80. No, stop doing that. I shot 89. I'm happy with that. So went to Hothead afterward to do some writing. I finished chapter 6 and started chapter 7. Total of 2,200 words done during the 2 hours. Very, very happy with that output. Didn't expect that. And then when I got home, the plan was to play the baseball game or the football game. And in that case, nothing happened. I did not do either of those things. I did take a picture on Friday in the evening while I was playing of, right here is my computer screen where I lay out the game and the cards are down here in front of me. And then I have a TV right there. And I put the A team on and I did a snap of, here's me playing my APBA dice game and watching the A team, kind of like I did in 1983, which was kind of fun. Yeah. So let's see, so I got home. I didn't do anything in the evening Saturday. And then today, up early to golf, and I was home around 11:30. It just didn't feel like doing much. I did not go write, not because I didn't have anything to write. I just didn't go. I knew I was getting a little bit closer to where I had to start plotting again. So I actually sat for about 3 hours, from like 1 to 4, and plotted all the way through the midpoint of for this book 5, pretty detailed. Like, I actually went through the chapters, made a lot of notes, talked to ChatGPT a little bit about it, got some ideas there. And I'm pretty plotted. I still have to work on like chapter 12 and 13 a little bit more, but I'm pretty detailed right now with my plotting all the way through chapter 15, which I'm really happy about.
Oh yeah.
And I did a little bit of APBA stuff. Real quick. The APBA dice football game and the baseball game, but the football game has something called a rare play. So if you call like a short pass and you roll the dice, there's a really good chance, or there's a rare chance that it can come back with what's called a rare play, which will be something like quarterback throws the ball and it's tipped up in the air and he catches it and runs for 7 yards. That doesn't happen very often in football, and in the game it doesn't happen very often. But I've played like 20 games now, and I've hit these rare plays where I'm hitting the same ones over and over again because you roll the dice and it's 2 through 12. Well, the craps numbers of like 6, 7, 8 that are rolled the most, I'm hitting those the most. I'm starting to get some repeats. So I went to ChatGPT in the evening and said, give me 20 new. I said, do you know what APBA Dice football game is? It said yes. I said, do you know what the rare plays are? It said yes. I'm like, good. Give me 20 new rare plays for the inside run category. And bam, it spit them out. So I'm actually going to go through. I started earlier today. I'm going to go through and make 20 new rare plays, and then I'm going to roll a 20-sided die and two 6-sided die. So I'll have between 2 and 32. So I have 31 rare plays to choose from for each situation. There's 20 situations. So I'll come up with like, I don't know, whatever 20 times 20 is, 400 new rare plays. I'll stick them in an Excel and print them all out, and I'll have them with me. I actually think that's going to be really fun while I'm playing the game on YouTube, reading the new rare play that no one's ever heard of because ChatGPT came. So I'm actually really excited about this. I started doing it right before we started podcasting. I'm going to work on it a little more tonight over the next couple of days, keep working on it so that I can print it out. And then if I want, I can make it a PDF, put it on my website, and then tell people, hey, if you're interested, go to jerryevanoff.com/rareplaychart.pdf. Oh, and while you're there, check out my books.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, so I will absolutely be doing that. And then the other thing that I want to talk about real quick before we get to yours is that I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'm in that fantasy golf league where you pay $50. Right. There's 420 people in it. And coming into today, I'm still in first place. First place is a little over $3,000. Coming into today, there's 7 events left, including the one that happened today. And the guy that I picked to win the tournament actually won the tournament. And I was like watching and I'm getting excited. I'm watching him. He makes an eagle on 16, a birdie on 18. He makes a 20-foot putt on 18 to win the tournament by 1. And I have him, which means he just won $1.6 million. I was already up by like 900,000 on second place. I'm going to have a really good lead going into next week's British Open. So I'm really excited about watching golf right now. There's 6 events left. And I'm hoping that I can hang on to first place. I'm so excited by it.
You'd really have to fall off in order to lose that, probably.
Well, the only really thing that can happen is I pick guys that don't make the cut, and the guys behind me slowly catch me. Or somebody picks right behind me, picks the winner next week, and I don't pick somebody that makes any money at all. Which those two things can absolutely happen, but I'd rather be in the situation I'm in than the guys behind me chasing me.
Oh, definitely.
So,
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that was my week. It was my 9 days. It was really interesting. A lot of things happened. I'll have a fun little addicted to, I think. I'll have a fun little addicted to when I get there in a little while that goes along with the week. So yeah, there you go.
Well, great. I'm glad you had a lot to talk about because absolutely nothing interesting happened to me in the last 9 or 10 days. I did manage to get a few minutes every day at lunch to write, probably about a half hour, 40 minutes, but I never got more than 400 words at a time. I did manage to write every single day, so that was nice. Good. That's the plus. Yeah. And like I said, I think it's just the heat and the work has been eating away at my energy levels, which are always low this time of year. So I'm looking forward to the fall coming when it starts getting a little bit cooler and I start to get a little bit more energy back. The one thing that did happen is that Thursday I picked up a book. It's about 25 years old now. It's called G is for Grafton. And I don't know if you know of the author Sue Grafton or not, if you've ever heard of her.
I've read most of her books. Okay.
Yeah, she's famous for the Alphabet Murder books. Mm-hmm. This is a really interesting book. It was written by a couple of people. It's basically in a way, it's a biography of Kinsey Malone, of her main character. But also there is a whole lot of really interesting author-related stuff in there about how Sue Grafton created characters, created plot lines, the way she strategically deployed metaphors and simile to express themes, how she worked in really colorful descriptions of places and settings using metaphors and similes and not just kind of upright, straight up describing them, but actually trying to draw out of the readers an emotional response to the setting that Kinsey was in. So I think it's worth a read. If you can pick it up, you can probably go walk across the street to the library and have them get it for you on interlibrary loan or whatever. And
no need to. I had 2 credits on Audible and I literally just bought one. I bought it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as we're sitting here, if you're watching me on YouTube, you just saw me live, just buy it.
Yeah. It's really good. Yeah. So that was something, I guess, quasi interesting to happen. I had this whole weekend, a long weekend off, Friday through Sunday, and I did nothing but nap the whole time. I was literally taking 2 naps every day. I would get up, have breakfast, putter around the house. About noon, I'd lay down, take an hour nap, get up, putter around, have some dinner, take another nap. And then, as my dad said, I'd be well rested to go to bed, and then going to bed at 9 every day. So it's just something's wearing on me. I could just have a low grade bug too. That often happens. There's a lot of COVID going around here right now, and although I've never really gotten it, I don't think I'm vaccinated up to the hilt. If your body's trying to fight something off, you just lose energy. So I've lost energy, but I am kind of proud of the fact that I was able to write at least a little tiny bit every day.
That's great, actually. That'll help you work toward your routine. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, and that's I finally decided that's really what I've got to do. I just got to get into habits, some habits. But, nothing in my running list of future things to do. I pretty much accomplished what I set on there last time, which was to get rid of all these expenses I had that were writing related, but that I wasn't taking advantage of. So I kind of trashed all that. I did trash in addition to my hosting, and I had like about half a dozen domain names I've just been hanging onto forever. I got rid of my PO box. Got rid of. I think I had MailerLite as well, but I think I realized that the free thing was going away, so I just ignored all their emails. In fact, I think I finally unsubscribed to them, so I didn't get their emails because I didn't have any data that were really worth saving. Anyways, a lot of it was really old.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm just down to paying for those 2 domain names, which I wasn't quite sure I'm ready to get rid of the pen name Rich Kacy yet. So I decided to keep that.
It's catchy. It's a good name.
Yeah, it's not bad. I decided that it's not bad, and I also like the Emeratura Press, so I wanted to keep that one as well.
Is that new? What is that? I don't know what that is.
No, I've had that right from the very beginning. It's just it's when I did way back in the late teens, 20 teens, when I did publish a few things on Amazon, I used that as my imprint name, and it's so it's my main. It's basically my main domain name. Everything else came off of that. Everything else was a baby off of Emeratura Press.
Do you just make it up and say, okay, that's what I am, or do you have to do anything with it?
No, you can make it up. You make up anything you want. All it does is when you go to publish on Amazon, instead of when the details of the book that you publish, instead of showing up on this to a reader as publisher Amazon, it'd be publisher Emeratura Press or whatever. Lots of in fact, the vast majority of indies have some kind of imprint name that they use to make it just.
All right. Well, I'm going to look into that. I like that idea.
And then, maybe, somewhere down the line when you do finally gather up enough books or published items, you could, even use that as a website name for a store, for example.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Or something.
Okay. All right. For my running list of future things to do, it's the same as it was. It's some plotting, which I'm just working through plotting all the way through book 9, and looking into the overall plot of Sam's arc from book 1 all the way through book 9. I've actually started making some notes there where I'll think, for example, there's a kid in book 4 who tries to lure Sam somewhere. He says he's got papers on his father when in reality he doesn't, and he disappears in book 4 in the midpoint. He disappears. Well, at the end of book 5, I'm going to write, and let me get your idea on this. At the end, or your thoughts on this. At the end of book 5, I'm going to write an epilogue that is that character being killed. And it has nothing to do with book 5 at all. It's just going to be at the very end after the mystery's been wound up. I'm just going to have that chapter in there happen. What do you think? Bad idea? Good idea?
It's a cliffhanger chapter, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's fine.
And then I'm going to open the serial killer book 8 with the police informing Sam we found his body, that kind of thing. So,
right.
Yeah. And then I added it. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioning this here reminded me, I did want to say about my writing that I did this past week. One of the reasons I was able to write a little bit every day and actually got enthused a little bit about it is because I went back to what we talked about last time we podcasted, in that I just threw away the order in which I was writing and just jumped all the way up to the epiphany and decided I'm going to write this chapter instead. And I just started writing with an idea that had just popped into my head about, wow, this would be a great way to make the transition from Act 2 or Act 2.5, whatever you want to call it, into the last act. And so I just went with that.
That's great. In fact, I'll tell you what, caused me to want to write this epilogue is last Saturday, so 8 days ago, or no, I'm sorry, when was it? I think it was last Saturday. I think it was might have been Sunday actually. When I came home from golf, there was a Chevy truck parked in the library across the street from me, parked by the sidewalk, basically pointed right at my house, and it looked like there was somebody in the truck. And it's a Sunday. The library's closed on Sunday, and I'm just like, what? What is that person doing? So like 15 minutes, so I'd look again. What's happening? Am I being stalked right now? That's all I could think. So I would get my phone and I like opened the blinds just a hair and I pointed my camera and I zoomed in to see if there was, if somebody's sitting in the car, am I missing it? It looks like somebody's sitting in the car. So then I got my stuff together maybe 15 minutes later and got in the car and to go right, and the truck was still there when I pulled away. So then I'm driving down the highway. There's a 55-mile-an-hour highway to get on the big highway to get to the casino and get to the Chick-fil-A or wherever, Hothead, wherever I went. And there's a Chevy truck, and all I can see is that bow tie coming up on my bumper. It wasn't that, I mean, it was farther back. It wasn't riding my bumper or anything like that. And I'm like, what is that? It's a different truck. And now in my head, I've got this surveillance scene of these people driving Chevys going, okay, I just got off of him. Now you get on him and you follow him.
Yeah.
That's all that's in my head. So like I leave the casino and think, okay, if another Chevy ends up behind me, we're going to have an issue. And so that's when I write this epilogue, that's what it's going to include is this Chevy bow tie following my main character around until he gets killed. So,
yeah, that's good. I like that.
yeah. So, all right. Let's see. Okay. In terms of my addicted to, I'm addicted right now to the A-Team, which is a TV show that I've talked about on this podcast before, including a little while ago, where, so a buddy of mine who listens to the podcast, Brian made me a hard drive. No, he got what's called a Raspberry Pi, this little tiny computer, and put a case on it. And he put every episode of the A-Team on it. I don't know if that's copyright, so just pretend you didn't hear that. And then he programmed it to randomly start an episode whenever I plug it in. So it's plugged into the back of my TV and it's on my little shelf under my TV. And every now and then I'll just go plug it in and I'll put it on and I'll just have some background noise. So Pluto TV is a free app that I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for golf, I could literally just use Pluto TV for 6 months out of the year when football wasn't on. Like it has Mystery Science Theater, it has Riff Tracks, it has Murder, She Wrote, it has a BBC channel, it has Perry Mason, it has the Andy Griffith Show. You know, it has all these shows that I put on for background noise. And I don't watch a lot of TV right now. That's what's on my TV. I think right on my TV right now is Perry Mason. But because of the PGA Tour and golf that I like to watch every week, I have to have some kind of a cable. When football is over next year in February, I am really going to look hard to see if I can get the PGA Tour on some streaming service for like $20 a month or $10 a month or whatever it is, and then cancel YouTube TV for 6 months until football comes back. I do not watch it. It's just I don't watch TV anymore. When I was a kid, I was a giant couch potato. I'm the exact opposite right now from that. To I barely watch. I watch sports and stuff that I've seen 1,000 times. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So the Pluto TV has done this thing where they have an action channel, and it used to be like a week of Miami Vice, and then a week of The Bionic Woman, and then a week of Knight Rider, then a week of the A-Team. But they've changed it up now where it's like something's on in the morning, something's on in the afternoon, I don't know what, and then Miami Vice is on, and then right around 6:30, right around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, the A-Team is on for like 3 episodes back to back to back. And it's become what I put on my TV now in the evening when I'm doing other stuff, playing my football game, it's right there, or in the other room, you know, watching YouTube or watching baseball or whatever, on my fantasy baseball league or whatever on the computer. That's what I put on. Cooking dinner, that's what I put on. So I would call that an addiction right now because I've probably every day, except maybe Tuesday because I golfed, every day that's been on my TV somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds like an addiction to me.
And it's a terrible, terrible fun show. It's so much fun. so silly. It's so much fun.
My addicted to is still walking, although I don't know what the total was this past week or where I am on my tour of Europe. I know I'm past Paris. But I did get, I believe it was 6 days this past week where I averaged at least 8,000 steps. So it was pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. Although, in addition to that, in terms of addicted to, I've also watched more than just a handful of McDonald and Dobbs, that detective show, murder mystery show that's on the BBC, which we've gone back and we're starting to recycle through. Although I'm going to be in real trouble going forward. You know, I was watching Northern Exposure forever. I just noticed a couple days ago that Amazon Prime now has the Red Green show. They've added it to their lineup. This was a show. It was a half-hour comedy show that came out of Canada. It was ran from like 1991 to 2016.
Wow.
Like 15 years, and it's all about these guys who live and work out of Possum Lodge in Canada. And one guy is a self-styled handyman who thinks everything he does is perfect, but his major tools are WD-40 and duct tape. And and it's just a hilarious kind of Canadian humor show.
Yeah, right.
That I really like. So I think I'm going to be sucked into that for who knows how long going forward.
That's okay. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
What's the show? What's the Rick Moranis and not the Wendy's guy? What's the guy's name that did Wendy's, the restaurant?
Were you talking about Dana Carvey? And
no. This was Rick Moranis, and the reason I brought up Wendy's is because the other guy has the same name as him, and that's how I always remembered it. Dave Thomas and Rick Moranis.
Okay.
Remember the movie Strange Brew from the early 80s?
I never saw that movie.
Oh, it's such a good movie. It's so dumb, but it's such a great movie. They did a version of the 12 Days of Christmas song that's hilarious. So
I think I've seen that on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
Or no, actually, I think I've heard it on the radio. They play that at Christmas
I'm sure
time.
they do. Yeah. But if you ever get a chance, watch Strange Brew. It's a fun movie from the early 80s. And Rick Moranis is great, and Dave Thomas is great in that. They say, "Hey, you hoser," a lot, which is just funny. So anyway, all right, maybe I'll check that out. Okay, so in terms of my week coming up, we are mixing things up a little bit. I'm not going to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the office this week because 3 days in a row golfing on Tuesday night. Let's see if it goes better if I do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So that means when I get home from golf at like 9:30, I'm not rushing to go to bed and because I have to get up the next morning to go to work. I also get it over with. I get that Monday over with, so that third day I get it over with early in the week. There's no one in the office on Mondays, so it's going to be super quiet in there. So the plan this week is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, which means I'll get a lunch together today and take it in. I'll write each of those 3 days at lunch, hopefully getting about 1,000 words per day. And if I can get more, great. With the plotting that I did today, I have a feeling I should be able to get more than 1,000 because I was pretty detailed with that plotting. Tuesday night, I have my golf league. And then Friday this week is the same as last week. I will be working a half a day. I'm probably going to do that for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Although this week I actually do plan on writing. I don't have anything scheduled during the day. So right after I log off around 11, I'll probably head out to not the casino. The casino's taking a break. We're taking a break from the casino. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we're definitely taking a break. I'll probably go to either Chick-fil-A or Hothead. I'm a little bit annoyed with Hothead right now because they added bacon, and I did not know this until last week, but they charge you like $1.50 for queso and $2 for bacon. So like my $13 burrito is now like $18. And it's really, really annoying. I've stopped tipping. I used to tip them all the time. I've stopped tipping because I'm tired of spending $21 on lunch at a burrito place.
Yeah.
But I probably will. I mean, I love the problem is I love the burrito. It's so good. So I probably will go there anyway. And on Friday, hope I get about 1,500 words, and that'll be the plan. If I can get more, great. Saturday and Sunday, I'll golf in the morning, then I'll go right afterward, getting hopefully 1,500 words each of those 2 days. Although Saturday could be kind of weird. There's an outing at the golf course that we play at where we're members. The outing starts at 10. So I stopped the guy who runs the course today as we were driving. I was like, Brian, I said, you guys got an outing next week. Is there any chance that, are you there? Did I lose you?
You froze up for a second,
okay.
but
well, hopefully we're still good. Okay. So I'll start over. So we have an outing at the golf course. I said to Brian, the guy who runs it, I'm like, Brian, you have an outing next week on Saturday, but can we come and play anyway? What time does the outing start? And he said, probably not. And he goes, it starts at 10. And I go, what if we show up at 6:30, just the two of us, me and Dave? We'll be done by 9:30. We'll be off the course by 9:30. The outing starts at 10. He's like, I might need the carts. I might need your cart because the outing is it's going to fill up the whole course. So it's huge.
Uh-huh.
And so he said, call him tomorrow in the afternoon. He thinks we can do it. He thinks we'll be able to. So if that's the case, I'll be done golf by 9:30. I'll be home by like 10:30. So I'll be able to get out of there early, get some writing done early. And that might actually cause me to get a few more words in. And I love it. And as I wrote into the outline with my next bullet point, here's a news flash for you. Something you didn't expect to see. I am done with the casino for a little while. I've lost twice in a row. After going 13 out of 16, winning money, I didn't give it all back. Don't get me wrong with the last 2 visits, but I gave more back than I wanted to.
I was just gonna ask that question. You must have lost a lot in order to be.
It was a good number. It was a pretty good number. So I'll tell you it off the air. So the people out there don't judge me. I don't mind if you judge me, but those people I don't want to judge me. So I'm done. And it's a break. And what will happen with me is if I don't go for 3 or 4 weeks, I won't miss it, and I probably won't go for 6 months. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
I say that knocking on wood because I do know you. So there you go. So, like I did last week in terms of my goal, let's do the math. 3 days of writing at work is 1,000 words each. 3 days at 1,500. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, since I'm taking the half down Friday, that gives me a total of what should be about 7,500. So let's shoot for 7,500 this week for my goal. That should get me into chapter 11 or 12, which will get me really close. The midpoint is at chapter 15, so that'll get me pretty close to the midpoint.
Yeah. Well, this coming week for me, I work the next 6 days in a row, actually. So it's going to be a busy week. My mystery course also concludes this week, although I doubt if I'll actually have time to literally finish it. But I've got basically 2 weeks from this coming Friday to finish it all up and take the final exam. So we'll see how busy the library is, see if I can actually finish it this week or not. I am teaching another Excel course at the library this coming Thursday, so I'm going to have to prepare for that. This is going to be all on graphing and charting and how to interpret data from the charts. So that should be kind of interesting, I think. And other than that, I hope to keep my streak going of being able to write a little bit at lunch every day at the minimum. Hope to try to force that daily word count back up to around 500. So I'm going to set a goal of 3,000 words by next Sunday. We'll see if I can actually hit that or not. But it's just going to be a lot of work at the library and, stealing time when I can in order to do some writing. In terms of stuff to share, I got one thing I wrote down and one thing that occurred to me while we were talking. This was the week that Ream, the subscription website that allowed you to set up subscription services for your stories, a la Vella on Amazon, only for you to control the tiers. And, basically it was like Patreon without the large fees associated with it. It actually imploded in a dramatic fashion this week.
Oh.
Wednesday or Thursday, news hits late in the day. Actually, it's probably in the wee hours of the evening that the founder, one of the founders and the main face of the whole site, the guy whose enthusiasm and just energy really attracted a lot of authors to that site, was kicked out by the rest of the board of the site, and the rest of the board basically consisted of a husband and wife team that had founded it with him. And who knows exactly what happened behind the scenes. There's been a lot of shit talking, trash talking back and forth between them. But he's definitely, the guy's name is Michael Evans. He's definitely come out on top in terms of the author's sentiment about him getting shafted in this whole deal, and that the other ones are just trying to make a money grub on the site. So I don't know what's going to happen. He's actually disappearing back into the YouTube world, which is where he came from. So he's going to be working there instead of with authors. I don't think Ream's ever going to take off now that he's gone, because he was the entrepreneur of the whole thing. He was the face of the thing. And yeah, so it's probably a good idea I didn't really spend much time over there. But I kind of feel sorry for a lot of people that I know, because they did spend an awful lot of time setting themselves up there. And now they're kind of stuck. They're going to have to see it out and see what actually happens, because they've got too much invested to actually pull out right now. And the other thing that occurred to me while we were talking is that I need to hear more about what this Blue Couch Books is.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that they had their official grand opening during a couple days ago, or maybe something like that. Then, what do you know about it?
So I am attempting to get the founder of Blue Couch Books on the podcast. I asked her last week, and she seemed intrigued. I said, you should come back on the podcast, and come back on the podcast ought to give away who it is. And she said, and I go, talk about your website. And she went, oh. So I think with a little bit of prodding and pushing, which I don't think is going to take much at all, we might be able to get Lindsay back on. All I know, from what I know about it right now, and I haven't heard much because she hasn't talked about it much. She asked me last week when she was up here to donate some of my books, and I said, absolutely. And then she left without me giving them to her because I just forgot. So, so I might ship her some, but, as far as I can tell, it's kind of a used bookstore where, you go there and she's going to slowly build it up over time with inventory. And, I know she knows someone who's also doing it, who's doing very well doing it. And, so this is something she's trying out. So I will put the link to the website in the show notes. It's called, I believe it's Blue Couch Books, right?
Right.
bluecouchbooks.com. You can go there, and I know there's a lot of books there that are kind of marked down. I believe they're used, or in my case, for example, I was going to send her books that no one's ever read before, but I was just donating them to her, and I know she's got some people doing that. So
Right.
yeah, so check it out. It'll be interesting as she builds it up.
Yeah, I did drop in there to take a look after they opened up the website, and yeah, right now it is used books. They do have a spot to put new books in, so I imagine at some point they may be looking to populate that as
Yeah.
well. And I just didn't know if there's something where because it's kind of far off of what she's doing, because she's still into the jewelry and the gemology stuff, right? And,
oh yeah, she's a big wig at the K Jewelers that she works at. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that out of the blue she would do something like this. But I guess it makes sense if she's got a friend who is doing this. And
I don't think I would call it out of the blue. It's out of the blue in terms of the idea itself. But
right.
Lindsay and I are very similar, where we're both trying new things all the time. It's just her things are more business related, where mine are more play and fun related.
Okay.
Then whatever works with us. Like, I know she's tried some stuff in the past. I don't think it's worked that well. I don't know the history. I haven't really asked, but I know she's really excited about this because I know she loves books. She's a book person. She's always loved them. She reads like crazy. And the person that she knows that does this, I don't know if she knew him. I don't know if she had the idea before or after she met him.
Right.
So, but I know that once she met him, I think that's where she went, oh, there's something here that I could do. She's been working on it for a long time. And it just opened up. So definitely Blue Couch Books. Check it out. It's my, in case I don't think I've been specific enough. It's my sister, Lindsay. For those of you who have longtime listeners, you obviously have heard Lindsay before. And I'm trying to get her back on the podcast to talk about it. I think we'll be able to get her. So,
cool.
We'll get her. Yeah. So
that'd be nice.
Yeah. There you go. That is all. I don't really have anything to share other than you mentioned Reem a little while ago, just in case, I don't know if you remember this, Rich, but that was the podcast that we did where you talked pretty heavily about it that we couldn't post because of the echo.
Oh, okay.
So that's just so people know that's not out of the blue. That is something that Rich had tried or gotten into maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah, well, actually, right around the first of the year, and then I just
was that early? Okay.
Yeah, along with everything else, I just kind of let it fall by the wayside and didn't really do much with it. But it's like I said, a subscription service. It may recover from this. I mean, memories are short. Well, memories aren't short in the author world, but from the reader's point of view, they don't know any of this stuff is going on.
And if there's a want and the people are willing to try to fill that want, then they could try to make it work. So.
Right. And we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is all for the podcast this week. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm done.
All right. I'm done too. So if you want to get a hold of me, you can email me, jerry@jerryevanoff.com. You can, the website is jerryevanoff.com. And I'll put the links that we talked about today, including Lindsay's bluecouchbooks.com in the show notes. Check that out. Just click on it and go give it a look. And if something catches your fancy, definitely buy something, but definitely check it out. She put a lot of work into it. And then we're on Patreon, patreon.com/newauthorpodcast. You can see it up on the screen right now. If you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a link in the show notes. If you want to support us, head on over there and sign up. You don't have to pay anything, or you can pay something. Either way, helps us out, helps us pay for the website, all the stuff we do here.
Yeah, and for the time being, you can reach me at my email address at rich@richcacy.com. That hasn't gone away yet. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky at Kacy himself. Don't put anything political in your posts because I'll never see it because I've got all those posts muted.
Yeah.
And you can
that's how you can Twitter right there.
That's right. And you can find links to my Vella stories still at the moment at richcacy.com.
I follow 75 people on Twitter. I literally see fantasy football posts and nothing else. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Take care, everyone.